Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be rating all the books I've read so far this year, and I decided I'm going to do it from worst to best. I've actually read 62 books this year, but as I was like ranking them and picking out which ones I thought were better than others, some of them were like similar, so I just put them together as in like the same ranking. So I have like 50 overall, if that makes sense. Some books were really bad, and I'm gonna put up the rating on stars of what I gave them, because I don't remember off the top of my head right now, but you'll see. But some were really bad, and then some were really good. I actually had a couple 5 stars this year, which so far it seems to be getting more rare lately. So starting off with the worst one, number 50, would be Warcross by Marie Lu. The reason that this is the worst one that I've read so far this year is because it's supposed to be sci-fi, and it's supposed to be about like a game. It's like really big Ready Player One vibes. I think that's what she was going for, but it was more romance than anything. It was so boring. Like it was so boring. I almost DNF'd this 4 different times, but I pushed through because I wanted to finish it, because I don't know, I just wanted to finish it and get it off my shelf. Yeah, it was really bad. It was, I despised it. And I had the second one, and I'm never gonna read that. So yeah, that was number 50. Number 49, I don't have physically, so it was Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. And I think the reason that this one was so low is because I do remember partially there's this big mystery surrounding, I think, a missing girl, if I'm correct, and the main character's trying to figure out who did it and like why it's happening. But the reason it was so far low on my list is because the main character was like so obsessed with like talking about, I don't know, it was so weird. It was like sexualizing little girls and stuff like that, like talking about how young they were and like how hot they were. There was some very odd things, and I thought it was going to be like once or twice and then that was going to be it, but it kept like going throughout the book. It seemed like the main character cared more about like the sexual lives of these 12 and 13-year-olds than that she did about the missing people. So it was really weird. So yeah, that one's number 49. And then number 48, we have a Fear Street book. I read a couple of Fear Street books this year, and this one was Fear Hall: The Conclusion. And this is a duology, and this is the second book in a duology. And the reason that this one is so low is because you find out the plot twist in book 1, and then in book 2 you already know it, even though they try and act like you shouldn't, but they literally came out and said it in the first book. It was just so boring. Like, you knew what happened. It was very obvious. It felt like just filler, like, honestly. Yeah, so that one's number 48. Number 47, we have 2 books in the same spot. So we have, first off, The Cousins by Karen M. McManus, and then we have Something in the Water by Catherine Steadman. Both thrillers. This one's more YA, I believe. Now, the reason these are so low on the list is because I remember reading them, but I don't remember a single thing that happened. And I remember when I did read them, I wasn't very impressed. So they weren't memorable at all, or they weren't memorable at all. Number 46, we have the 6th book in a series, and that is Light by Michael Grant. This is part of the Gone series, and it's basically about, there's a bunch of these little kids. I think it's anybody over the age of 18 just vanishes from the world. It's just kids to fend for themselves, and it's very, very gruesome. Like, you would think that the way it's described, you think it'd be targeted as YA, and I think it is considered YA, but it's definitely not, because there's talk about like bodies and like infants and just like really gruesome, dark stuff that is very realistic if this would happen, because it was a bunch of like 12-year-olds trying to like keep a bunch of newborn babies alive with no adults. And of course there was bullies and kids that would just catch things on fire. There was a couple people that were like trying to be doctors. If you've ever seen the show The Society, it's literally the exact same thing, except just age down the kid, because they are in a bubble and they can't escape. The premise is really cool. It just started dragging so bad, which is why I finished this book this year, but the rest I finished last year. But yeah, I was so bored by the time I got to the 6th book. And I think the only reason I stayed is because I owned it physically, and I was like, I don't want to buy a book and then not read it, especially when I'm 5 books in now. Finish the 6th one, get it over with. And I think this was the shortest one. This one's kind of surprising. This next one, I have 2 actually. I have Garlic and the Witch by Bree Paulson, I think is who the author is. I read, there was a duology, but they were kind of separate stories, but Garlic and the Witch was the second one, and it was all right. It wasn't bad, but I would never like actually read it again. And like, Can't remember exactly what happened. I think Dracula was in it, or some kind of vampire. Yeah, it was about it. It wasn't that bad, but it wasn't the greatest either. And then we have Extraordinary, which is actually surprising because it's V.E. Schwab, and I love V.E. Schwab. So I thought I was gonna love this. This is a graphic novel. It's based in the world of the vicious, vengeful duology. I hated it so much because I read Vicious and then I started Vengeful, and I'm currently still in the middle of Vengeful, but this was literally a retelling of Vicious, like, again. It was like the same characters, but they were named different. It made no sense. It felt like I was in an alternate universe, a multiverse, where the story was told again, but it just wasn't as good as Vicious, the original. That was about it. It felt like a waste of time, honestly. So yeah, this was bad. 2 more books. We have Berserk Volume 1, and then we have Book Eaters by Sunny Dean. The reason I didn't like Berserk was because I thought I'd give it a try. I was trying new mangas. It was obviously a big, huge series and I wanted to try it. And I just really didn't like, the story was kind of boring to me. And I didn't really like the art style, which I know is a very unpopular opinion. And I saw the controversial first page or whatever. Honestly, to me, that was probably the best art in the entire volume. And maybe it gets better as you go on, but I have too many things to read to care enough to even try. So yeah, that's why it's this far down on the list. And then we have the Book Eaters, which it started off like I thought it was going to be so cool. They are humans, but they consume books instead of food. Not everyone's a book eater, so they have to kind of hide in plain sight in our society. Like, certain books have certain tastes and stuff. And I thought it was a cool concept, and it really was. And then her son is like a special book eater, and so he has to have like more books than normal or something. And then he starts like eating people's minds, and he's like consuming their thoughts. And so he's like a monster kind of, and so she's trying to get like this special medicine to make him, tame him down. It started off like the first maybe 40-50 pages was good, and then the rest of the book was so boring. The whole thing was just about her trying to be a better mom and stuff like that, and it felt more lit fic than fantasy towards like, it felt like it changed genres. Yeah, so it was a great idea, but just terribly executed in my opinion. So yeah, that's why it's this far down on the list. Then we have Spy Family 12. I love Spy Family. I've slowly been making my way through all of them. Some of them are better than others. Like, I think volume 10, I loved it. I think I gave it 5 stars. But yeah, so volume 12, I don't remember too much what happened because I read it really on at the beginning of the year. I'm pretty sure it was mostly about the character Yuri, and I'm not a fan of him at all. Can't stand him. And I think it was mostly him in this novel, which is why it was so low on the list. We have 2 R.L. Stine books. We have Fear Street, Fear Hall, the beginning, the first one to the conclusion, and then we have a Goosebumps book called The Barking Ghost, which is very old. This is my brother's copy, but I decided to read some of them because I wanted some short stuff. I was reading too many big books. They were boring me to death, so I was just like, I'm gonna read something quick and easy. And so I did read the beginning, Fear Street Hall. Again, it wasn't good, but it was better than the second one. You get the plot twist, and it starts off like, oh, this might be cool, and then it's kind of lame. Goosebumps, The Barking Ghost, it was actually really cool at first. The ending made no sense. It left like, I feel like there was a plot hole somewhere in the ending of this. Like, it just wasn't great. If I remember right, I think kids go out in a cabin and then they get turned into dogs, and they have to like try and get their parents, they're trying to get their parents to recognize that they were turned into dogs or something like that. It's a Goosebumps book, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, there's that. Number 41 is a book that I couldn't tell you a single thing about. It's called Night and Day in Misery by Catriona Ward. I wanted to test out, I have some of Catriona Ward's books, but I haven't read any of them yet. So I wanted to test out this short story to see if I liked it or not. I can't remember a single thing about it. So my rating is based on when I first read it. So it was probably mid. Next, we have From Here to Eternity by Caitlin Doughty or Doty. I don't quite know how to pronounce the last name, but this is a nonfiction book, and I actually read 2 of her books this year. Basically, she likes to go around the world and like learn about different people's cultures on how they deal with death from a mortician's perspective. It was really cool to learn about. I can't remember why I rated this one so low. I think It was because some of the cultures, a couple of the chapters, it seemed like she was very biased about it. I didn't think that was very cool, so I think that's why this one was farther down. But it's still very interesting to learn about. Next, we have this book, which looks super cute and I thought was going to be fun, but it just was really boring. And that was The Babysitter's Coven by Kate Williams. It was originally a trilogy, and I had the first 2 books, and I read this one, and I was so boring. I can't remember what happens. There was obviously the babysitters, and I think there's a monster. I know there's a coach involved somewhere in there. I remember it making not a lick of sense, not one drop. Like, the plot was just out of this world, not believable. There are a lot of plot holes, stuff like that. So, yeah, that was this one. Okay, next we have a book called String by Paul Tobin. This was one I got from NetGalley. I was really excited about it because it sounded really cool and had a really cool premise. Basically, it's about this girl and she can see threads and between people. And I think it's so random. It's 2 colors. There's like a black one, and if she sees a black thread between 2 people, it means either one of them is about to die or one of them is a killer, I believe. So if she sees a black thread on someone, she knows that they're a murderer, or that they're about to just be gone. And then she sees another, I can't remember the color, I think it's blue. It's like between people that have gotten together and had sex. I don't know why that's the most random, 2 random things ever, and that's it. That's the only thread she's seeing. I thought this was gonna be like a YA-ish type graphic novel, but it was actually very graphic. There was a lot of nudity, and the art was great and the art looked good, but I think the story overall, it sounded cool. The main character, basically what happens is she's like an investigative journalist, I believe, and eventually she sees a thread linked to her. It's a black thread, so she's like, oh my god, either I'm gonna kill someone or I'm about to die. And so she's trying to hurry up and figure out what's gonna happen, so to save her life or to save her from becoming a murderer. The art was great, but the story itself was mid. It kept reminding you what her powers were, even though it was pretty simple concept. 2 threads, she can see both. One's death and one's sex, that's it. Like, there wasn't much to it other than that, but they constantly reminded you that this is her power, this is what she can do with it. And it was such a short graphic novel, and I think we were reminded like 7 or 8 times. Like, it was just too much. But yeah, so there's that one. Then we have another Fear Street book, which is The Dead Lifeguard, and it started off really good. Like, I was like really hyped. I read this in one sitting. I wish I could tell you I remembered it. I remember the start of it. I forgot how it ended. I can't remember a single thing on how it ended. But I remember the ending not making a lick of sense, and it kind of ruined the rest of the book by the ending. So that's why it was so far on the list, and I remember not liking it. So yeah, there's that. Number 36 on the list, we have a book that a lot of people might actually really love. I felt like I should have loved it more, but I didn't, and that was As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. This is a part of the trilogy, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and this is the 3rd and final book in the trilogy. Now, I can't tell you why. I forgot why I rated it so low. I think there were some boring bits. It just wasn't that appealing. I do remember though that I did shed a tear at the end. I think I did cry at the end. So she got some kind of emotion out of me, but I just remember it not being as fun as the first book. Like, it just felt like it was dragging on, and I just got bored. But yeah, so there's this. Number 35, we have The 1000th Floor by Katharine McGee, and this is more my fault, I think, because I got this a long time ago, and it's just been sitting on my shelf, and I decided one day that I was like, I'm just gonna read it because it's been sitting here forever. And I thought it was a thriller, but it's really not. It's like a sci-fi-ish Gossip Girl in a way. Mixed Magnolia Parks with Gossip Girl, but you added just like a sci-fi setting. This is what you would get. It's the 1000th floor. They live in this big, like, obviously skyscraper in the city. I can't remember the sci-fi aspects, but it's set in the future. There's a lot of like AI stuff and a lot of like computer tech. And there's a lot of drama going on between a bunch of teens, and yeah, that's about it. It wasn't good. I mean, well, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't the greatest thing I've ever read. And there was a second book, and I still don't know if I want to read it or not. It's just average, I guess. Okay, next we have 2 mangas that I decided to give a try, and I didn't like either one of them. We have The Saints Magical Powers Omnipotent, I think's what the name. It's such a long title, and I couldn't remember the author's name, but it was like it was a good, I think they were trying to set it up for, and I think the series is really long if I remember right. It was like about a botanist, like her plants and stuff like that. It was just boring. That's all. And then we have Ex Yakuza and the Stray Kitten. That one was also kind of lame. The reason I read that one is because I had a cat and I was like in a cat manga mood because I have some like nice, like some way cooler cat mangas that I've read. And so I figured I'd give that one a try. And if I can remember, I think the cat talks, but it's not in a good way. It's like a really lame one. Like it constantly is like meow or whatever. I think it was supposed to come off as like comedic, but it just wasn't to me. So yeah, I've one and done for that one. Then we have 2 more books. We have Spiderwick, the first volume, which I think is called a field guide. I remember something to do with Spiderwick Chronicles, and I swear you could get a whole book in a cereal box, and I remember doing that when I was little. And I think I read it when I was younger, but I didn't remember it. And I remember watching the movie and loving the movie, so I decided to revisit it as an adult and read the first volume, and it just wasn't the greatest. It was very average. It was better as a kid, I'll just say that. And then we have Spy Family 13, which was better than Spy Family 12. But once again, I mean, there's been better ones, so that's about it for that. Now we have Garlic the Vampire, the first one, and it was better than the second. I can't remember what happened. Obviously, it's a piece of garlic. I know there's a carrot, and I think they get together or something, or they have a crush on each other. I mean, the art was good. I think the story was mid, if I remember right. Coming in number 31, we have Good Girl, Bad Blood, which is book 2, and the Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This one was obviously, I guess it was better than the last one. Actually, I don't remember this one at all, if I'm being honest. I remember what happens in the first one because I watched the show too, so that kind of set it in my head. But I don't remember anything that happened in the second book. But it was probably more of the same, honestly. Just did a little bit better than the last one. Coming in at number 30, we have The 100 by Cass Morgan. I'm pretty sure most of you probably know about the show called The 100. The show's based off these books. So I thought that it was going to be great. Usually the books are better than shows or movies. That's usually how it goes. But this is a rare case where the show did it way better than the book. Like season 1, the whole problem is that there's the grounders is what they call them. And that's like the people that live on the earth. And they're like attacking the 100. That's like the whole premise. And that's like the entirety of season 1 is them trying to like live in this scary place where there's like these weirdish like Viking warrior type people. Well, that doesn't even happen in this book. At the very end of the book, there's like a slight like mention that there might be others living on the planet besides them, but it's not confirmed. And this whole book is literally just like it's not even the first episode, I think. It would be, I can't even remember, but there's characters in this that weren't in the show, and there's characters in the show that weren't in this. So yeah, it was definitely interesting. It wasn't, I mean, I'm gonna continue the series eventually, but the show's better. Okay, we have another 2 books. We have Orochi Volume 4, which is a manga. I was trying to find things that were kind of like Junji Ito, because that was like he's my favorite horror manga author. Yeah, I was trying to find similarities, and I found Orochi, which is 4 volumes. And it wasn't bad. It was still good. It was starting to turn into more of the same by the 4th volume. And I think it's about a girl who, she like never dies. She like stays the same age, I believe, and she just like goes around and she tells other people's stories, but she gets involved, and she's kind of like I wouldn't say she's a curse, but she's like a very, like when she gets involved, bad things happen, but she doesn't mean for it to happen. I don't know, it was alright, but there's that. And then I had the universe, I think it's called Universal Monsters, the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and there were a couple set in this like universe. This was one of them, which is the Creature in the Black Lagoon, and it was okay. I mean, the art was good, the story was alright. It's like a swamp monster thing. I can't remember how it ended though, I kind of forget. But yeah, there was that. Number 28, we have Only a Monster by Vanessa Lynn, and I thought I was gonna love this. It was very mid. I mean, there was time travel and it had a fantasy aspect, and I thought I was really gonna like it, but at the end of the day, it wasn't executed very well in my opinion, and I think it's gonna be a trilogy. I don't care enough about the characters and about the story to continue, so sadly, yeah, that's what this was. Next we have If I Have to Be Haunted. This was basically about a girl who can see ghosts and spirits, and of course she has, it's like an enemies to lovers, but it's not really enemies at all, but like that's what they'll say it is. And there's a boy at the school that she doesn't like. He gets bit by a venomous snake somehow and dies, and his spirit is waltzing around through the forest, and she sees it, and she does something that makes it to where he can tell that she can see him, and he's like, wait, you can see me? And he's like she's the only one that can. So apparently there's a way for him to go back to his body, become alive again, I guess, if she does something. I don't remember. It was all right. It wasn't the best thing ever, but it wasn't the worst. It was like a mid thing. Another two, and again, both R.L. Stine. One is Goosebumps, one's Fear Street. We have Cheater, which was the Fear Street one. I don't remember what happened. He was obviously the main character. I think she cheats. Oh, wait, it's coming back to me very slowly. She comes from a family that's very intelligent, very high up. I think her dad's a lawyer or something like that. She has to take like an SAT, I think. And he wants a very specific score. It's like crazy outlandish. She struggles with like, I think, math. And so her test score overall wasn't what her dad would approve of. So she feels so pressured that she decides to like spend the money and hire a guy from her school that will take the test for her, because her name is like, what's the word, unisex. Her name's very, I can't remember what her name is, but it's unisex. So basically like a guy can have her name and it would sound just the same. He's like, well, your name's this, so they don't check ID, and so I can pass for you. And so he takes the test, he aces it because he's really smart, but then like the guilt starts to eat away at her, and then like something happens and there's like a killer on the loose. It just starts raveling, and then she's lying to like everyone she loves. It was like mid. And then we have the Haunted Car by R.L. Stine, which is a Goosebumps book. Not much to say about this. I mean, there's a car, they buy it, the kid gets really obsessed with the car, kind of like possessed by it in a way, and he's always wanting to be inside of it and always just sit. He doesn't even have his license, so he's just sitting in it. And I think he falls asleep in the car, and then sometimes the car locks, and like I think it almost suffocated him once or something like that. And obviously it's haunted, so he's like trying to prove to his dad that we need to get rid of the car or whatever. It was all right. Now we've come into the top 25. So we have, first, this one is, I have a bind up of the first 3 novels, but I only read the first novel. This is called The Zombie Chronicles by Darren Shan, yes. And basically, this is the guy that wrote the Cirque du Freak books, and it was like really good, but like, it would be very controversial because it's supposed to be about a zombie apocalypse and how, you know, these kids are trying to, you know, get through it and survive, but really it's just the main character struggling with being racist. It's like the whole story, but the writing is so like unique that it's very addictive and it makes you want to continue. And the writing style was very easy, and I actually wanted to know what happened by the end. And I'm assuming, because this series I think is like 10 or 12 books long, so I have a feeling that the main character is going to have a very big character arc where he becomes not racist. But if he doesn't though, then that would mean, I mean, that would be crazy. I can't tell you if the character like has a good resolution, and I have no idea. I can't, I really hope, but I'll tell you what, I did start the second novel, and it's not as good as the first. It kind of makes no sense. So it might end up being a DNF at the end of the day. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a very odd book. So that's, yeah. Next, we have a big fat book that took me so long to finish, bro. Forever. And I got gypped, man, because it's Midnight Sun by Stephenie Meyer. I thought that this was a continuation of the story, or like set in the future with a different character. And I thought it's, oh, if you don't know, it's Twilight, but it's book 5. And I thought that it was gonna be a continuation, but really it's just Twilight completely all over again, but from Edward's POV. I don't think we needed it. I know a lot of the fangirls are like, oh my god, yes, you know, but I think Twilight was better in Bella's POV, because from his, first of all, he doesn't shut up, if you can't tell. All he does is talk and like describe every single plant and wind and grass. Like, he just, oh my god, he doesn't shut up. That was tough to get through. I think the only thing that's really good about this book, we get to see Alice's visions. We get more about it, and it's really cool because her power is, I mean, you understand it in Twilight. So much more information about how it works and like the internal part, and it was really cool to see. And that was the only reason this book was good, was because we got to see that. But other than that, yeah, it was just unnecessarily long, and I mean mid. Next we have Monster Volume 4. It's been so long since I read the first one, but I remember the premise being like, it's about a doctor. He's supposed to save there's like this older man, I think, who's like super important. I don't know if he's like a mayor or president or something like that, but he's a really big wig guy, and he's supposed to save him. And then there's another little boy who also needs saved, and I think they need a transplant or something. I don't remember exactly what happens. I think he's like one of the best doctors at the hospital, so only he can save either of them. And he decides to save the kid instead of the older guy, and then the kid grows up and ends up becoming a complete psychopath and starts murdering everyone. So then the doctor has to deal with that, like, well, if I wouldn't have saved him, that wouldn't have happened. And it's a cool premise, and the book's good too. It's just I can't remember exactly everything that happened. Oh, I do remember a couple things that happened in this, but it'd probably be spoilers. But I mean, some of it was kind of sad, honestly. So, but yeah, it's a good series overall. So we have Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs, which is a crazy title, and that's also by Caitlin Doughty. This is also nonfiction. I think she's a mortician, if I remember correctly, so she knows a lot about this stuff. There's actually a lot of cultures that watch their loved ones get cremated. So like here in America, we would send them to the crematorium. The funeral home director would just take care of it. We get their ashes back in an urn, and that would be that. But a lot of cultures actually watch their loved ones burn alive. Well, not alive, but they watch their bodies burn and then like pick out the bones from the ashes. And that's like a very symbolic thing for them. I don't know, like it's a very respectful thing to do for them. And to me, that was crazy, because like you couldn't catch me like watching one of my loved ones burn and then me picking out their bones from the ash. I think I would hurl. I don't think I have the stomach for that, but yeah, that was one of the crazy things. And obviously the name of the title was Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs, and yes, he will. Your cat will eat you when you die. It was very cool. There was a lot of cool things to learn about in there, and there was a couple other things I learned that was crazy. Like, from my perspective, I just thought it was wild, but like it's just normal in some parts of the world. So it was very fun to read, actually. We also have The Creeping Hand Murder, which I put in with this one because it's kind of on the same level for me. Basically, it's like a detective book. There's this big mystery, and you as the reader it's set up to where you have to figure out who the killer is. I also received an early arc of this from NetGalley. I don't want to say too much because like we're not supposed to review it yet. So, but yeah, it was good. It was fun. I had fun, and the art was cool. There's a lot of cool art. So next we actually have a classic, and that is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. To me, I thought this was growing up hearing about it, obviously I know what the plot twist is, so there's nothing crazy about this case. I thought it was going to be more thriller aspects, you know, like spookier, and it was really more of a mystery, like whodunit type thing. So yeah, nothing spooky about it, honestly. But yeah, it was alright. Next we have Natasha Preston's Awake, which is like one of her older books, and I have all of her books right now. I thought this was, I can't remember, from the back, it doesn't really explain a lot. There's like a girl and she wakes up like in a white dress with no shoes on or something like that, but she can't remember where she came from, and it's called Awake. So I thought it was going to be like a dream type thing, like she can't she can't differentiate like reality from her dream, and I thought it was gonna be really like eerie and spooky, but it was more like, it was actually about a cult. So she finds this guy, and of course she likes him, and there's like a romance, and there's like this big cult that she gets stuck in the middle of, and she's trying to escape. I think the reason I put this so far down low is that the main character was so dumb. Like it was so obvious that like she shouldn't do I think she got in a car with a stranger at one point, and she was just like, oh, I wonder if this was safe, and like she did the dumbest things possible, and it was a wonder how she could have stayed alive at the end. I don't know, she just was way too trusting and complete strangers, so that kind of annoyed me, but other than that, it was fun. Then we have Win, Lose, Kill, Die by Cynthia Murphy, I think so it is, and I listened to this on audio. It was alright. It was like a whodunit mystery, I believe. I think it had like an academia aspect to it. There was a really cool trope in this that I didn't realize I liked until it happened, but I can't tell you what it is, because if I did, it would spoil the whole book. Like you wouldn't even need to read it. So I can't tell you what the trope is, but it was really cool. I think the ending made the book for me, but I feel like a lot of people wouldn't like the ending, so maybe don't read it. Yeah, it was like a tragic ending, and I loved it a lot. It was really cool. Okay, next, number 18, we have Children of Fear, which is another Fear Street book. So there's some foster kids. They want to escape the system, I believe, and so there's this whole like cargo train that like picks up these orphans. just so weird to me. And the orphans can like live on the train, and there's like a mother matron or whatever you want to call her that's like in charge of them, but she's like super abusive and terrible to them. I feel like, I swear some of the kids have powers, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But it was spooky, and it was kind of fun. And yeah, it was a quick read. So next we have another arc, and I was super excited about it. It is We All Won't Survive by Kate Alice Marshall, and I love Kate Alice Marshall. I love her so much, and I was so excited when I got accepted because I was just pumped. It's literally such a cool it's like a, can I talk? The main character gets asked to go to a summer camp, but it's kind of different. It's kind of set up like Survivor. A bunch of these teens all get sent an email to come to this camp, and they're going to compete in a competition with different stages, and then whoever wins gets like a bunch of money, I believe. But there's also like this other crazy background story where the main character was in a mall shooting, and she knew who the shooter was, and it was actually someone very close to her, so she's very untrustworthy of every single person there. They shut down the camp, so like it's on lockdown. There's like these giant fences with all this barbed wire. They thought it was gonna be very safe, like leisure type thing, and it wasn't. It was like crazy, like you only one of you is coming out. So they start panicking, and then one of the girls turns up dead, and they're like, it's set up like an accident, but it wasn't, and it's very obvious that it wasn't when you start looking at the details. The main character is like, oh my gosh, someone here is a murderer, and we're all stuck in this like giant prison camp, and we can't escape. So the main character is trying to figure out who the killer is, but at the same time trying to survive long enough to make it to the end so she can escape. And it was really cool. The only problem I had with it is Kate Alice Marshall is really, really good about plot twists usually. And this one was very obvious to me. Like, I knew who the killer was. It was so obvious. I was kind of upset about it when it was confirmed that I was right. But there was a twist. I'll give her this. There was a twist at the end about the killer that made it so much more impactful and like really put the story like in perspective and put it all together. It was crazy. So I knew who the killer was, but I didn't know the reason for it, and the reason was just kind of mind-boggling, honestly. It actually made it better. So yeah, this was pretty good. Wasn't her best, but it wasn't bad either. I actually had a lot of fun reading it. Number 16, we have My Roommate is a Vampire, and this is a romance kind of with like a supernatural aspect. Honestly, I had a lot of fun. This book was really fun to read about. I liked the vampire guy. He was chill. Main character's pretty chill. It was funny at some times. It was all great until the very end of the book. So if you've read this book, you'll understand why. But there's a problem. I can't remember what the problem was. You know what? I don't remember what the problem was, but I'm not going to tell you. But I'm going to tell you what the solution was, because I feel like it's not going to be a twist, okay? It's not a spoiler. Basically, the solution to their problem was TikTok. I can't make it up. TikTok was their solution to their problem that they had in the book. And in the end, it worked out. Like, TikTok was their savior, and that made no sense to me. And it wasn't brought up until like the very end. Like, it was like pretty simple, common vampire book. And then at the end, the main character was like, oh, I know, let's use TikTok. If they didn't use TikTok, it would have been such a better book. I don't understand how that happened. But yeah, so there's more in that series, like different characters in the same universe. I'm not reading them, bro. I can't do that. I can't be doing that. Okay, next we have 2 more graphic novels. We have A Basket Full of Heads by Joe Hill, and then we have another one of those Universal monsters, but this one's Dracula. Now, Basket Full of Heads was really done well. The art was pretty good. The story was very unique. Can't tell you what happened, just don't remember. There's obviously a basket full of heads. I know the main character is a girl. I know she's like fighting for her life, and I know like the heads, when she chops the heads off the people, they are still alive. So like she has a bunch of talking heads in a basket that are all like arguing and stuff. So that was kind of interesting. The Universal Pictures Dracula, the art is what made it for me. Like, the art was crazy good. Like, it was just so cool to look at. It was so pretty. I mean, and like haunting and gothic and stuff. I love the art. Like, I read it like on an ebook, but I'm gonna have to eventually get a physical copy just so I can look through the art. It was so good. Number 14, we have A Middle Grade, and it is book 3 in the Small Spaces quartet, and that is Dark Waters by Catherine Arden. Basically, it's kind of a continuation of the story. In the first book, there's like a scarecrow guy attacking the kids, and he like holds people hostage, and he's like eating the children's spirits or whatever, and so they're fighting off him, but he never dies. And so like on the second book, they're a different setting, same guy, but he'll show up in a different form, so they never know. And then in book 3, he does the same thing, except this one's kind of like on a cruise. It's not on a cruise ship, it's on a regular like old sailing ship, I guess, and it's like very piratey core type thing. They get stuck on an island and stuff, and the parents are actually more involved in this one. Something happens to the main character that's a little different from the other two that kind of leads into the fourth book. But overall, this series is so much fun. I think I gave book 2 like almost, I think I gave it almost 5 stars. The book 2 was so like eerie and scary, and it was doing better than some regular adult thrillers. And so yeah, this book was pretty good too. It wasn't as scary, but it was still good. Next we have another arc, and this one was actually pretty fire. This was Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. So this was my 3rd Holly Jackson book of the year. And obviously her other 2 weren't the greatest for me. This one was crazy good. This one was actually really, really good. And this one is about a girl, and she's actually like in her late 20s, I believe. And she's like kind of I wouldn't want to say she's a loser, but she's like gotten... There's like, she hasn't done anything with her life, and people are always like, when are you gonna do this? When are you gonna do that? You know? And she's at a carnival, and something goes down. Can't remember what. Something very minuscule and small. And then she goes back to her place, and she's by herself, and someone clubs her on the back of the head, and she falls, and they hit her again, and everything goes black. And then she wakes up in the hospital, and they tell her that she literally has like a week to live, that she's gonna die no matter what, but she only has a week to live. And there's like a surgery they can do, but it's like 95% chance she'll die. So it's like she's gonna die no matter what. So she's like, I have a week. If I don't do the surgery, I'm just gonna take the week and live. And she goes, I'm gonna figure out who tried to kill me, because the person who obviously smacked her in the back of the head was trying to like get her gone, and they failed. So she's like trying to solve her own murder, which was a cool concept. A lot of characters that are involved, and there's so many like elements that are put in together, and it was actually done really well. I had fun reading it. It was fast paced. It was pretty good, and the ending was tragic and great at the same time. It was actually, I've never had this happen to me. The ending had me bawling my eyes out, but then I turned a page, and there was the funniest thing that happened, and I busted up laughing in the middle of my crying session, which I've never had someone play with my emotions that fast that way. It was crazy. The book was really good. It's probably far my favorite Holly Jackson book so far. Then we have Vinland Saga Volume 1, which is been a long time since I've read this. I think I read this at the very beginning of the year, and I do want to continue the entire series, but I wanted to do like a taste test, because there's a lot of them, and if you want to get like the bind-ups, they're like crazy expensive. So I was like, I'll just see if I like it first before I go buying them all. And I did. I loved it. It was it's about Vikings, and it's about this kid. His dad, I believe it's his dad, dies. He wants to get revenge because he knows who killed his father, and the guy that killed his father is the one that took him under his wing. And he's like, I want you gone. And he wants to like fight in honor of his father. He obviously is not good at it, so because he's such a young kid, so he gets bullied around. And the guy that murdered his dad's really like, you can tell just from the first volume that he's a very complex character. Like you can see that there's some evil in him, but there's also some good, like a very good morally gray character. It's kind of exciting, and I thought it was really good, and I'm excited to actually finish the entire series at some point in life. But next we have another V.E. Schwab, which is Vicious, which is book 1 in the Vicious Vengeful Duology. And you want to talk about morally gray characters, here's some morally gray characters. And I did tab this one. Ta-da! Basically, it's about 2 guys who grow up together as friends. I think they meet in college, but they bond and they get really close, and they're like best friends. And they both have an idea for a certain topic for their science paper. The one guy takes it very, very seriously, and he's like, what if we actually did this? And it's like, it's kind of like flatlining. Like his idea was that they flatline for so long, and then once they come back, they might have powers. And there was some science-y talk about it that I couldn't tell you, but basically that was the gist of it. And the other guy was like, that's crazy. And he's like, it's a cool theory to write for a paper, but like that's a crazy thing to do. The other guy, he's like, well, we're gonna write a paper on it, but I say we should try it. He goes, so you really want to flatline and risk your life like that just to prove a point? He goes, I know it's gonna work. And so he gets his friend to do it for him, And the whole time I'm thinking this, I was like, if he flatlines and then he doesn't come back, his friend's gonna look like a murderer. They never talk about that. And I'm like, bro, like what are you doing? But it does work. He does come back and he does have superpowers. And then the goal was for them both to do it. If one worked, the other one was supposed to do it. The one that completed the powers, he's like, no, we're done. We're not doing it now. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, no, you can't do it. It's too dangerous. He's like, but we were supposed to do it together. We were in this together. He feels so betrayed because his friend just did this crazy huge thing and he helped him do it, and now that it's his turn, his friend doesn't want to do it, so he decides to do it on his own, and they both end up having superpowers, but one uses theirs for good and one uses theirs for bad. I loved it. It was really good. Okay, we've entered our top 10. Are you guys ready? So top 10, the books were great, but there was probably like one thing that was wrong. Like for instance, number 10 is Our Vicious Fates by Laura Stevens. This book, I was so excited. I thought this was gonna be 5 stars. And it was 5 stars until the very end of the book. And this is, I've never heard of this author before. She was completely new to me. I was so excited. It's basically set up, it sounds a lot like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. And V.E. Schwab did blurb the book and say that it was like crazy good and stuff. So I was like, oh, this is going to be amazing. It's basically about 2 people. One's Evelyn and the other one is Arden. Arden's always killing Evelyn before she turns 18, every single time. And they'll reincarnate into a new life and new people, and he doesn't matter what she looks like, if whatever body she's in, what gender, he doesn't matter. He finds her and he kills her, and she doesn't understand why, and he won't tell her why. And they end up falling in love throughout the centuries because they've been alive for so long. And she's like very confused about it because she's like, I love him, but he keeps killing me. She's always trying to find new ways to live past that. She feels like if she lives past 18, she'll survive. It'll all be over. The whole cycle will end. In the current life she lives, I think it's 2022. So it's like our time period, and her sister has a form of cancer. She needs like a bone marrow transfusion, I believe, and the perfect match for her is her sister. So she's like, I need to make it to 18 so I can give my sister the transplant that she needs. Super cool concept. There's a lot of different eras and time periods, and they were all really cool and exciting to read about. And the love story itself was really done well. Like, I was very tragic and in a good way. It was great. And it was up until the very end of the book. It's built up so heavily about why Evelyn can't find out. Because Arden's constantly like, if I told you, everything would be different. And like, I can't tell you because it's important. And so she's like, well, did we make a deal with the devil? Like, she's trying to figure it out. And he won't answer her. He says it's worse than that. And she's like, how could it be worse than that? And so like, when you do finally find out what it is, that the reason why he does it, it's so dumb. It makes no sense. The way the book ended in general, I think it was supposed to be a happy ending, but it ends in a way that's like, it's just not good. Like, it could have been done better. She had 90% of the book done, and then the last 10% was rushed, and she just didn't know what to do. Because she built up her plot. She made it so epic that when the actual epic part needed to happen, like, nothing could have compared to what she wrote. So she came up with something really dumb instead. So I was really excited about this book. Overall, it was still pretty good. The endings just suck. That's it. Next we have Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky? I can't remember his name. And this is the same man that wrote My Perks of Being a Wallflower. Imaginary Friend is a horror book, which is so random, and it's really big. It was like, I think almost 800 pages. It was good. It was really, really good. And the only reason it wasn't higher on the list is because it took so long to read. It's about this little boy, and he moves into this town, and he keeps seeing this paper bag floating in the wind. It talks to him. He keeps calling it like the man or whatever, but it's always just this paper bag. His mom's like, I think if I remember correctly, his dad passed away, and so she thinks he's just like dealing with it, like it's a traumatic thing, and this is his way of coping. So she's like trying to be supportive, but at the same time she's starting to worry about him because he keeps going into the woods and then like not telling his mom. He comes out of I think he does get lost in the woods for like 3 or 4 days. And he comes out of the woods, they find him, and all he can talk about is this man on the paper bag. And he's like, his mom's like, you shouldn't even be here. Like, how did you survive 4 days in the woods? And he says he doesn't remember. It's like super eerie and creepy. And then it's like a multiverse type deal. It had like a Stranger Things aspect where it's like going to the other side, but it's like the same universe, but like a different dimension. And he goes through, in order to get through, there's this tree house that he wants to build, and once he builds it, he can go through. And he goes through, and nobody can see him or hear him. The only people that can see him are the old man in the paper bag or whatever, and then there's this evil like witch lady who's trying to hunt him down and kill him. You have to stay in the light, and you have to be on the street or the sidewalk, one of the two. It's either the street or the sidewalk, and then she can't get you. But she's like constantly trying to get him for some reason. He can't stay in that world for too long because he'll die. But it starts bleeding together. The witch lady can like, she starts hurting his mom in real life, like pinching her and stuff. And it's just crazy. Like, it was so eerie and just well done. It was really good. It was just a little on the longer side, but other than that, it was amazing. Okay, next we have City of Ghosts by V.E. Schwab. This is her middle grade trilogy, and this is the first book. Her name is Cass. She almost drowns, and then she gets saved by a young boy, but the boy is dead and he's a ghost, and she's the only one that can see him. He's her best friend, and she tells her family this, but of course her family thinks it's just like an imaginary friend, like just her playing around. And her family like has a supernatural show where they go look at haunted places, and then, you know, like kind of like a Zach Bagans thing. She's in school and they kind of just travel around the world and do this, and they take her, like lug her with them. She goes to London. There's like a lot of ghosts, and they recognize that she can like see them. I believe she helps them cross over, if I remember correctly. There's an evil ghost that like steals her soul and escapes and ends up becoming like alive, and then she's like a ghost form trying to, you know, come back. And it's really cool. There's some cool facts about London in here. Typical middle grade. It was really good. Okay, next we have 2 books, but I only own the one, and that is The Betrayal and The Secret. They're both Fear Street books. It's a trilogy, and I've only read the first 2 so far, but it's really, really good. It goes down this family line of like witch hunts and stuff like that. It like starts off way back in like, I think the 1600s, and then it kind of progressively goes on. And it's about these 2 families, and the one family is just cursed. Their name gets cursed. I can't remember exactly why, but their name gets cursed, and it just goes down through the family line, and it's like every family member ever just constantly is getting the worst thing possible that could happen to them. And it's mostly about witches, and there's like some evil powers going on. Yeah, that's literally it. It just kind of repeats, but it kind of ties itself together. It was really, it's like by far the best Fear Street books I've ever read. These are so good. I'm super excited to read the 3rd one, but yeah, these were great. Okay, next I have 2 because they're both really good and they're both practically the same. Like same rating. We have volume 6 and volume 7 of Cat Plus Gamer. These are cute little mangas about a gamer girl who owns 2 cats, and it's her like dealing with her cats and using like video game techniques to take care of them. I don't know, it's really cool and cute. They're really cute. They're always 5 stars. I love them. They're adorable. We've got down to the top 5 books. Are we ready? I feel like I've been talking for 80 years. So number 5 is actually nonfiction, and that is Beyond the Wand by Tom Felton. Now this is his bibliography, I guess you could say, about his life living as, you know, being Draco Malfoy in the Harry Potter series, and then beyond that. And I know, especially recently, a lot of people have been like ripping into him because they say that he's kind of a loser now because he got the part for Draco Malfoy in a play or something like that. A Broadway, I think. And so people are like, he just needs to move on, get over it, and like he's a full-grown man. But like, I don't know, like I still love Harry Potter and I'm a full-grown person, so it's like, and he was in it, you know what I mean? And this story is more than that. He actually delved really deep. It was very vulnerable about his life. He actually was an alcoholic and had a problem and needed to go to AA meetings. So it was just really crazy, and it was really sad, and it was well done, and it was 5 stars. Okay, number 4 is a graphic novel, and that is Over My Dead Body by Sweeney Boo. And this is very random, but I loved it. It's about a witch. It's a very witchy aesthetic graphic novel. Kind of gives you like this Chilling Adventures of Sabrina vibes. It's about a girl who she has to take care of like the young witches. Like she's like a senior witch, and I think every senior witch gets like a young witch they need to like mentor, and so hers disappears and she's like trying to figure out what happened. But the art is crazy good. Like this is that, if I ever made a graphic novel, like if I had the skill to make one and the art, like be able to be an artist, I would want it to look exactly like this. Like the color grade, oh my gosh, I almost ripped the book. The color grading is so well done. Like, hold on. It's so pretty. There's just a lot of purpley pinkish hues. There's some orange vibes in there. Hold on, where's the orange vibes? Like, oh my god, look at this cute little mansion. Like, it's so cute. Like look at this. It's adorable. And I found out that she's making a second one, and I'm super stoked about that too. Look at the plants. Do you see what I mean? Like, it's just so well done. Anyways, I loved it. It's 5 stars, and when the second one comes, I'm reading it. I don't care. I'm pumped about it. Number 3, Fantasticland. It was crazy good. A flood comes in and to a theme park, and all these theme park workers are supposed to work over the weekend or something because like summertime. The flood comes and they couldn't get out in time. The big wig people that like own the company are like, well, we have shelters there for the workers that couldn't get out, so you need to go to those shelters and just wait it out, and then when we can get, you know, helped on the way, we'll get, you know, we'll come for you. What happens is help never comes, and days start going by and they're like, we're gonna run out of food. It gets really crazy really fast. You would think that they would just hunker down and wait, but it starts turning into the most outlandish crap. People start dying. They start like making gangs, and they all decide to leave the shelter, and they all like have certain parts of the theme park then that they captured, and that's like their zone, and it becomes like this all-out war between a bunch of like people in their 20s. They're like all theme park people that run the rides, and now they're doing war strategies on, you know, and it's like, it becomes like a horror. It's literally a horror book. There's a group of all girls that are fighting. They're like part of one shop, and then they all have like bow and arrows and stuff, and they all start learning archery. And then of course there's like the big bully of the group, and he like gets this like cult following, and it's kind of like The Walking Dead. Like if you've ever watched Walking Dead, like Negan, him, and how he runs his place, it's like that. This one guy, he's just like that, and it gets crazy graphic and gory, and like it was wild. It was so interesting to see. I don't know, it was one of my favorites so far of the year. Number 2, we have The Island by Adrian McKenty. Now, this is the man that wrote The Chain, which is really good, but also not the greatest. The first half of the book was really good, and then the second half of the book just kind of fell flat. Now this is different. This was pretty good the whole way through. So this is about a family. It's a mother and a father and 2 kids, and the dad gets a divorce, and he marries a very young woman for his age. I think he's like in his 40s and she's in her like early or late 20s. It's not that big of an age gap, but enough that the main character, the woman, kind of feels like she doesn't feel as important or as smart because she's younger. And he also has 2 kids, and she's trying to be their stepmom, but like she's so young that she's like, I shouldn't even be a mom to begin with. So she's struggling with that, and he has to go on a work trip, and he takes all 3 of them with him, and the kids want to go see like koala bears or something like that, because I think they're in Australia. They come across these like 2 hillbilly hit guys, and they're like, well, we live on that island across the bay over there, and the koalas are always over there. And he goes, we could give you a lift over on the ferry, and then you could, you know, chill out, take some pictures, and then we could bring you back. The main guy character, he's rich, so he's like, he drops like $1,000, I think, and he's like, how's this gonna do? Because he's tired of the kids complaining about not seeing koalas, so he's like, here, take this money, will this do? And then the 2 hillbillies start arguing about whether they should take him over or not, and it's very weird. And then they take him across the ferry. He's like, okay, well, you can only stay in this zone. We're not actually supposed to have people over on the island, and so we'll get in big trouble if anyone else finds out you're here. So only go this far and be back here in an hour on the dot, and we'll take you back across. There's another couple that goes with them, so it's like a group of people at this point. They're all like, okay, you know, and so they go and see if they can find their koalas, but then something happens that's crazy. It's actually so realistic that it could happen. They do something absolutely wild, and then by the time they get back to the dock, word got back to what they did, and now they're being held hostage on the island. The people that own the island, it's the Hicks that own the island. The person they call Ma, and she's like some old lady with a cane, and she like runs things. They have like their own, like, it's like a mob, but like a hillbilly mob, and they run that island. And so they're like, you're not leaving. And so the woman's like, these 2 kids, they're not even mine, I'm their stepmom, and I need to get them off the island. It's like, it's a survival thing, but it was so good. And honestly, I said on the book, it says it's supposed to be a Hulu original series, but I checked, and I don't think it ever did get made. I don't know if they're even going to make it. It looked kind of iffy, and it was from years ago, so. But if they ever made a movie, this would be such a good movie to watch. After I finished this book, I usually don't read the acknowledgements, but I don't know, I randomly decided to this time. The thing that happens almost happened to the author in real life. That's where his whole story came from. He decided that him and his family wanted to go to an island to see the koalas or whatever, and then the thing that happens in this book that makes them have to stay, it almost happened to him. And he tells one of his friends or his editor or whatever about it, and he's like, no, what if it did happen? That's your story, write that. And so he did, and it was crazy because like it would happen, like, and I don't know, it was just a wild ride. I loved it. It was fun, it was fast, and I don't know, I just liked it. So yeah, it was my number 2. Now my number 1, probably very easy to guess. Big fan of the Hunger Games, and Sunrise on the Reaping came out this year, book number 5 about Haymitch. Everyone knows what this book's about. I'm not gonna explain it to you, you know. Yes, I've tabbed it. I loved it. Hyped for the movie, just as excited. Not much to say other than I was very questionable about this because Suzanne's written so many books so far. And you know when people continue series and they keep writing books, how it slowly starts to turn into not good, you know? Starts to get old. I thought that maybe this would happen because this is book 5, and I'm like, is she really gonna be able to make it just as impactful as the other 4? Because I guess a lot of people don't like The Ballad of Songbird and Snakes, which is book 4. I love that. Honestly, I don't know. Can I say it's my favorite? I don't know. Because I feel like I can't really say it's my favorite because Hunger Games is the OG. But I want to. Like, if I was going to rank them, I feel like it'd be Hunger Games, then The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, then the other 2 from the main trilogy, and then this one. I don't know why I'd even doubted her. Like, it was crazy good. And there's all these theories about how there might be a 6th book. And people are like, well, the Capitol's perspective would be the greatest to have. When people did the same thing for this book. When the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes came out, they were like, now imagine if she did a Haymitch POV. And I'm like, she's never gonna do that. Like, who's gonna do that? Just never thought it would happen, and then it did. And I was like, oh, and then it actually was really good. And I'm like, wow, okay. So people that are like, the Capitol perspective would be great, I think, you know what, you got a point. It might actually be really good. So I don't know if she'll actually do it, but if she does decide to, it's probably gonna be just as good. She's by far my favorite author ever. I don't know, her books are just crazy good. After I read this, obviously I went on TikTok and I watched everybody's little like connections between the books and the movies and stuff. She must go back and watch the movies and pinpoint like certain things. In the first Hunger Games movie, Haymitch is sitting in the stands when they do the chariot race thing, and something very major happens during the chariot race for his Hunger Games, and it's very tragic to him. And in the movie, the very first Hunger Games movie, before any of this ever existed, the character, Woody Harrelson, that's who it is, he like looks down and he looks very like contemplative and like upset about something in the movie, and people are like, yo, look, that's because this happened in the book. And so in order for her to make that much connect, she had to have gone back and watched the movies and taken the slightest frame that would have meant nothing beforehand and turned it into something symbolic. Like, I don't know how she does it. She's like a queen, bro. It blows my mind every time I read something and there's another connection. This book made Catching Fire way more symbolic and memorable, because Catching Fire was the one where it was double the tributes. No, it wasn't double the tributes. Why am I saying double? I don't remember, but it was from the existing pool of victors, so it was everyone's the victor, and they were all scary and stuff, and then they had the weirdest group of people that Katniss trusted, and it shows all of them in here, and from when they were younger, and they were all connected to Haymitch too. So it was cool because you got to see their perspectives and stuff. And there was actually a plot twist in the very beginning of the book that I didn't think would happen. Now, I don't want to say it because if you haven't read it yet, you have to. It was crazy. I was expecting it was very obvious it was supposed to go a certain way, and it didn't. I don't know. It was just really good. But yeah, those were my top 50. If you've made it to number 1, I don't know how, because I feel like I've been talking forever. If you liked the video, please comment down below, especially if you've read any of these books, and if you have differentiating opinions than I do, I'd like to hear it down below. Thank you for watching. I'm glad you enjoyed the video, and leave a like or a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one.